Student debt is one of the main problems of young Americans in this country. Today, it was announced that the amount that we owe is $1.3 trillion, another order of magnitude. And the federal government is already taking measures. Recently, they updated the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. And also, they did changes into the REPAYE program, where now you only have to pay 10% of your income back into your federal student loans. But that's only one part of the equation, Elliot. The other part is the private loans, that there's not much the federal government can do to regulate and to establish this type of measures. Yet, we see that 25% of students graduate with excessive debt.
Yeah, and obviously this has a huge impact on social mobility, because if you think about it, a lot of motivation for students, particularly students who have to take out larger loans perhaps than the ordinary mainstream student, is for a better life. Let's just say it as we see it, to gain an education, to get a better life, to get a better job. Well, the magnitude of the debt could seriously impact on that social mobility, or impact on that ability to better yourself.
And a good example of that is that the generation next, those who are in between 33 and 50 years old, they owe today the same amount that a millennial owes when they graduate. So all the money that they've been paying for the last 10 years after graduation, they haven't been able to make a difference in what they owe in their principal, meaning that they have been able to, or they have been forced for that matter, to put off many things like getting married, buying a house, having kids, changing the way they make decisions, even the jobs that they take. Many have been forced. They say that up to 20% report that they have to take another job, work more hours than they wanted to, or make financial decisions based on the fact that groceries sometimes are cheap, are less important to pay than the student loan itself.
Right. And we're seeing this in many ways mirrored across Europe, when you have such high, significant unemployment in countries, particularly I'm thinking of Spain, other countries as well, where millennial unemployment is as high as something like 20%, I think, in Spain. It's not much of a stretch to understand why there's so much discontent, why there's so much disharmony, why there's so much despair. And numbers like this just indicate that even, you're going to be saddled, if you're going to be saddled with the thought of being saddled with this debt for that length of time, is a significant disincentive, as well, to potentially going into school, as well as the reality of those people who have it and are saddled by it, and as you said, are unable to get out of it. I mean, student loans are the second largest source of debt in the United States, and that gives you a sense of it. The largest is, of course, mortgages. But so, to be second only behind mortgages, again, gives you a sense of the scale.
It's so alarming that they say that the rate is, we're adding $2,000 every second to the student debt that we have in this country. That's how fast people is getting into school, with the dreams of getting a better education, getting a better job through education, but the reality is that they come out, they graduate, they have loans that they are unable to pay, they have little experience, they don't get hired in the jobs that pay enough to pay your loan, and you find yourself working 2-3 jobs and with little hopes for the future. And I think that the presidential campaign is something that has been brought to the front, at least on the Democratic side. They've been trying to push the idea of free tuition for everyone, from Bernie Sanders. Hillary Clinton also has her own proposal for more accessibility for school. And knowing that you're impacting the future of a whole generation by forcing them into taking these loans.
Sure, but the thing, the Bernie Sanders point is, and the criticism of that is, who's going to pay for it?
Exactly.
And ultimately, that's just going to come from the taxpayers, and there's pushback, significant pushback on that for the reasons that we're talking about, because it's so expensive.
Exactly, and being the case that now we are reaching $1.3 trillion in student debt. But guess what? If we maybe took some money from the military spending, we are amounting $1.1 trillion every year. So maybe if we split the difference in a few years, maybe we can settle this out.